Welcome to Whitelock Fever Live. My name's Steve Mascord, and if you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, and hit the alerts down the bottom. I'm getting into the habit of saying that now. Welcome, and if you're listening on the podcast, welcome back. And we've got one fella who I believe has been on once before, and one fella who hasn't. From the band Truck, Dave LESLE and Andy McLean. How are you guys?
Very well,
good.
Thanks, Steve.
Excellent.
Pleasure to be here.
Normally, because I actually, once upon a time, I used to be a professional journalist, I would actually do research and I'd have a list of questions written. But because you're a new band and all you have is one PR blurb, I have an empty page in front of me. 2 songs out at the moment. And I guess we just start at the beginning. I mean, I did read, Andy, that you already had this project kind of going before Dave came on board. And that's about the only question I've got because I know nothing about you. So can you tell us a little bit about how all this started?
The band Truck had been on my radar for quite a while because they'd been recording with Ricky Ray in his studio. Mm. And Ricky Ray is Baby Animal's sound guy, tour manager. And he'd come on tour and we always sit next to each other on the plane. He'd say, "Man, I've got this band in the studio. You would love them. You'd love them." Band Truck. And it's like, oh, okay, Andy, because I know Andy from Horsehead and a couple of the other guys. He said, "Oh, man, it's such a good band. You'd love them. They're tracking live." And so they were already on my radar. And I'm not sure how far into their journey that I jumped on, but it was, during that sort of recording process, things kind of fell apart or whatever, and they needed someone to do some gigs and come on and fill the gap, as it were, in the interim. So I got a call and I'm like, okay, yeah, I know of this band. Mm. So I jumped in and listened to the songs and thought, oh, really? This is kind of good enough not good enough, I should say, like good enough. Oh, goodness. You can edit that bit out, right? No, this is like, I'd just love to stay at this thing. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Good bunch of guys.
Sorry, Dave. I just noticed, particularly in the States and increasingly here in the UK, guys are in like half a dozen bands. And yet in Australia, it's not as common, is it? Particularly you're in a very well-known band, a very active band. So is it a big commitment to sort of get involved in this project? And is it a change of philosophy a little bit for you to have a few things going at once? Or?
It is a little bit at my age, because I think, being in a band, pretending that you're 20 years old and doing it for nothing and doing it for pure love is a different kind of commitment. It's not so much a hobby, but it's a passion. And it's a love job because we're in it for the band. We're not in it for making money or anything like that. But at the time it landed in my lap virtually. It was a great thing to do. Kind of like, okay, that's what you do. Actually, yeah. I was feeling, COVID and all that sort of stuff. I was feeling a bit depressed. Let's write some songs and play some music.
Yeah. And how would you kind of, like, the vibe is very, it's not like Horsehead, it's not like the Baby Animals, is it? It's kind of like, it's more uppy, it's kind of like cheery, positive sort of, there's not much angst in the songs I've heard so far. Was that already the way the vibe was when you got involved, or was that something that you kind of encouraged or brought to the project?
I don't know, because they were very much their own thing when I got there. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that there's 2 songs of that ilk is a good thing, and it's a positive, it's a positive thing. We're definitely not, shoegaze, introspective rock. It's kind of like, we're all of a certain age, and this is what we love to do, and we're going to show you that we love to do it. So and that's and it the energy kind of reflects that. Yeah.
Andy, if you can hear me now, he's back. What was the kind of beginning of the first song, Make Hay? Like, what did the idea come from? And you do hear quite a few kind of songs written by people our age about making the most of your time and enjoying it. You know what I mean? That seems to be a recurring theme in some songs from, you know.
Well, I think you're onto it.
I mean, the last, the new Saxon album is called Carpe Diem. You know what I mean? It's like, but you're a good deal younger.
The day.
You're a good deal younger than Biff Byford. Yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
That is genuinely the sentiment, but you know, it's got a bit of a driving riff, hasn't it? It feels like I don't know. For me, songwriting, it's all about a feeling, I think, and then you sort of fill in the blanks. So I think a song like that just starts with a driving riff and you know, you're looking for a chorus, you're looking for a hook, and I think a whole bunch of tunes came out when I was, you know, needing again a rock and roll fix in my life. And thank God, I've missed the start of this interview, so I have no idea what you've been talking about. But thank God, you know, I crossed paths with Dave and the rest of the lads, and was able to sort of get a band like this together that is very much like making hay while the sun shines when you're on a good thing, you know. But, you know, I think for me, there's plenty of analysis all the time about what I'm doing, and you know, and I often talk to my kids about resetting each day. You know, start the day off, and you feel like you got to shake off yesterday, whatever that was about, and look forward to whatever today may offer. And I think that's a good attitude, and I'm trying to instill that definitely in my kids. But I often feel that with everything I do, including rock and roll. And this band is a case in point, you know. Here we go again. Have another crack.
Is the Horsehead reunion, did that kind of whet your appetite a little bit to get involved again like this?
I went off, when Horsehead finished, I went off and completely just distanced myself from music and went off and built a straw bale house and lived in the country. And after having kids, the hankering for music came back. And when we tried to put Horsehead back together, you know, 5 blokes with different things going on in their life, it was really difficult and took a very long time. So in the background, I think when I knew I was feeling like being artistic again, I think for years I've been looking for an alternative to Horsehead. Certainly having Horsehead come along and everyone saying, let's go and do the reunion was great fun. But that's a slow beast that will do things occasionally. I you know, like Dave and the other guys, I still desire just getting in a rehearsal room and the thrill of writing. I mean, the thrill of having a beer with blokes and just yabbering about life and having instruments in hand is that's key for me for sanity. So you know, Horsehead's a wonderful beast of a thing, but truck fills a great need for me to just rock regularly, if that makes any sense.
It's like a men's shed in a way. We get together and we bring our problems, we solve each other's problems, and then we play rock and roll. And we all walk away feeling better for it.
And maybe write a song about them, or maybe not. But while you were gone, Andy, Dave said that this is kind of a love project. It's kind of like almost like a hobby. Is that what it was set up to be? I know you'd be talking about hanging out together and having a beer while you're rehearsing.
Oh, he's having you on. The record companies have given us $1 million, and we're only doing it because we've got an obligation.
That's right. Did I say hobby?
Is it a love project?
We do it because we love it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's being in your first band again, right? You don't get paid.
Absolutely.
You load your own gear. You have to deal with, you know, unruly lighting guys who, you know, electrocute entire venues. It's like being in your first band.
It is, and it's a joy that I mean, yes, here we go again with the joy of being 17, you know. So that's great.
And how DIY is it? Like, does the record company, I mean, you know, like, I mean, obviously you organise, this interview was just organised by sending a message on Facebook, but I mean, like how DIY is it as far as, you know, the smallest minutiae of, do you have some people doing something for you, and what are your ambitions for it? I mean, you've got on the classic rock, you know, playlist of the week over here. You know, do you see yourself coming over here? I mean, what are your thoughts? What are your ambitions?
Andy, you want
For
to take
me,
one?
well, we'll both have a go at that one. But for me, I think songwriting and being surrounded by great players first. And like I said, when I was first starting to think about doing this, I had, you know, Tuesday nights free, and I was going, I need to put a band together. And for a little while, it was going to be called, you know, Tuesday Night Music Club. You know, just get some blokes regularly in a rehearsal room, and let the songwriting start. And without planning too much, and I mean, it falls into place when it's really good, and when, you know, when Dave and I clicked again, to me felt like, well, it will naturally, I mean, this feels good, so you call someone who knows someone, and you tell them what you're doing, and blah 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 blah, and we've had a bit of a buzz on this band, I must say, where I've, you know, been in music many years, and you sometimes you're really wanting this song to go, or you're pushing something, and I think you can really tell when there's a genuine buzz. And I think what's been beautiful this time around is we haven't gone out of our way. We've just been having fun, and we play it to someone who we know, and lucky we've been in the industry for a while, and you can play it to this person. And the genuine reaction has it sort of just keeps, you know, moseying along really nicely. I don't know that we've talked about anything about conquering the world. I think that's probably next week's chat. But over to you, Dave. I don't know that we've got major plans other than to just enjoy it.
I will be happy with cult status. And if world conquering comes on the other side of that, then that's good too. But no, it is a buzz. You know, you play it to your kids and stuff like that. And they go, oh yeah, all right. Because, you know, my kids weren't around for Baby Animals stuff. You know, that's retro to them and all that sort of thing. And so if doing something now and you play them, you know, this is what you still do, and you're still active and all that sort of thing, and you get that, oh yeah, it's all right. You go all right. Yeah, you guys go all right. And so that sort of thing is worth more than anything to me. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll be happy with cult status or world domination.
What's the climate like for kind of original rock, you reckon, in Oz now? Like, I mean, like, it's obviously, you know, is there a chance of getting added on Triple M still? Are those things still there? No, you're laughing at me now, aren't you? Yeah. So,
it's a tough one. It's tough out there.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, look, wouldn't radio be lovely? I think we'd do our heads in if we thought too much about that. I think again, I've learnt that you know, Scott Crawford, who's looking after us, I'll let him worry about that. We basically, to me, the key is, oh my God, we were so lucky. We used the guy Kevin Shirley. Have you talked about this already? No.
No, we haven't.
Kevin
Shirley.
No.
Kevin Shirley mixed the stuff, and it just sounds great. And that is such to get to that point is such a thrill. And then to talk about what are we going to do for the video? And Dave was just talking about his kids. This is a great segue for you to play the next track. For Lucky for the video, we just thought we're going to try and capture the vibe, and we're just going to have a bit of an Aussie barbecue, and with just our family, you know, and friends. And so my kids were there. One of Dave's kids was there, at partners, and it was great fun. That is really thrilling. So if it got radio, that would be an absolute bonus. But I don't understand the record industry these days, let alone how radio works. So I don't figure any of that stuff. I don't know that there's formulas anymore. I'm not sure how all that works. I'll leave that to someone else. But if we can get a vibe going, if we can play gigs, and if we make great sounding music and make good videos, and then we can get it out there as, you know, and that's where I'm not great with your your podcasts and all that stuff. So the fact that we're doing this is rocking, you know.
Thanks
the
for
more
coming
people
on.
the more people that hear it, hopefully it just sort of gets its own momentum.
Now the song Lucky is very, it's anthemic, and I can hear in the lyrics that you want to be kind of like not cheesy patriotic, but kind of celebratory. And I guess it's been a weird time in Oz, particularly you guys in Melbourne, with the most locked down city in the world. So, you know, it certainly would have you thinking about the kind of the country and where it sits, and where and you know, balancing the good and the bad. Is that kind of where the song comes from?
Absolutely, absolutely. That one genuinely coming out of one of the lockdowns. There was we've been lucky every time there's been a little opening through lockdowns. We've had a little local pub here that's been keen to have us play, and we go, you know, bloody hell, they're giving us a gig, so let's have a rehearsal and let's play. And then suddenly there'll be another lockdown. We go, woo, we got a gig in. But the feeling has been, you know, watching COVID around the world, again, I guess, you know, Australia's not perfect, but I do feel fortunate being in this country, and I do feel, and I'm sure Dave would say the same thing, you know, I think the next generation, I guess the younger generation around the world, are very well connected, and they seem to have their heads screwed on, and there seems to be some momentum and some change in a positive direction. And so I think being nationalistic or proud of your country, sometimes, especially around Australia Day, I was very aware that, you know, that's almost not cool or not correct these days, because people can find a lot of fault, and rightly so. But at the same time, I was sitting there with the lyrics for that song and the thinking behind it. I still feel like if we're moving forward and moving in the right direction, then some of us older guys can feel still proud of where we are. We can be part of the changes that are taking place, and proud of the future possibilities. And, you know, and it's not a bad thing to jump up and down every so often and say what a lucky country we are in many, many ways. And to be able to be, you know, I think to write a song, part of the movement in the right direction is a good thing.
Did you set out to kind of write a bit of an anthem there? Like, did you kind of think, well, this is something that could kind of strike a chord with people, or did you just stay out to want to express your own thoughts on these things, you know?
Again, with the songwriting, I don't think I know a lot of songwriters have lyric books first, and whereas I feel like I'm surrounded by the flavors, the music, and then usually dribble comes out of my mouth, and there's some sentiment in that dribble that will lead to whatever and then I'll go away and think about it all. And you know, when you got the guys playing it, it sounds Aussie. And then I was thinking a lot about what I wanted to say, and that usually is towards the end of the process. But at the start, it just comes in a bit of a flurry, you know. And no, never set out to write anything in particular. It's usually just ideas mumbling into the phone, and at the time I might go, that's a freaking ripper, send something to Dave, or Dave will send me something, that have a listen to this, blah, blah, blah. And other times there can be 20 things on your phone, and it's not till you get back to them and go through it and go, oh, that one stands out, you know. So that no formula, no pre-planned, each their own little delivery of sorts.
Now, this is the most boring question anyone in a band can be asked, but because you're a new band, I get to ask it. The name of the band, you know, like, you know, no one asks Mick Jagger anymore, how did you come up with Rolling Stone? But I get to still ask that question. So what's the story?
You should make one up, Dave. You got an answer for this one?
Oh, I don't. I have got no warning.
Will you be called Laurie when you tour over here? You know?
Yes, that exactly. No,
yes.
again,
We'll do Southeast Asian name. We call ourselves Tuk Tuk.
I'd just come out of a band where we had a really simple name, but when you looked it up on Google, there were too many bands called that, so we overly complicated the name, and then we didn't like the sound of, and it just became a real bore coming up with a band name. And so I think when putting together this band, it just felt, again, feel it, bang, truck, and it's first thing, and you just go, well, that sits well, and suddenly you're playing a gig and you've got to have a name, so that's it, you're in. So I think it was pretty instant with this band. So again, feeling very lucky with this band that things just seem to be falling into place. So
yeah, and you did this live now was this the pub? There's a thing on YouTube where you do a whole set in an empty room, and it sounds amazing. I mean, was that also mixed by Kevin Shirley, or
no, that was mixed. That's Cam McKenzie from Horsehead.
All right.
Aren't we lucky with all these blokes we hang around with? And Kevin Shirley, the one that mixed this current EP, was actually did Dave's album. Is that right, Dave? The first Baby Animals.
Yes, it was. I'm just at the toilet. I won't be a second.
Social media gold. If I clip any part of this interview to put on social media, it's going to be this bit, I think.
That is great. So that was the live recording stuff was done at a rehearsal studio here called Bakehouse.
Yep.
They've got a beautiful room, and it's we would rehearse there every time if we could. But you know, it's a room in high demand. But and at the time that we did that, we grabbed the sound guy from Horsehead and the guitarist from Horsehead who helped him out. Shot it live. Cam went and mixed it, and we stuck it up on YouTube, and a great little start. So away we go.
Yeah, it sounds great, mate. How did you, while he's indisposed, Dave? How was the kind of reunion stuff with Horsehead? I mean, I guess it's Dave's experience must be interesting. Where there's a thing in rock music where if you go away for long enough, if you had an audience, 15, 20 years ago, that audience maybe got a bit more money, a bit more time in their hands, and you can come back and you can do quite well. Horsehead was a bit different because it was a cult kind of thing, wasn't it? Did you kind of go, which I was part of the cult, I was at Springfields at 4 a.m. But did you gain a sort of a better understanding of the whole Horsehead thing through the reunion, and you know what I mean, and what it meant to people, and or was it exactly what as you thought? There were no surprises when you got back to
no, I was pleasantly surprised every step of the way. I was pleasantly surprised when all 5 of us actually committed, and then very pleasantly surprised. I think these days you kind of go, first up, touch wood, everyone's healthy, and everyone can still play. And then you go through this whole having a laugh in a rehearsal room where you're trying to remember what you used to do, and then realizing that was 20 years ago, where you used to be freaking angry about stuff or whatever. And it was like, well, we can't go out and try and be young and angry anymore. We got to find what is it that's special about this combo now. So a bunch of rehearsals in, and we sort of hit on, there's the power of it again. And we just went to ourselves, and we had no idea what the ticket sales or anything would be like, what the interest would be like. We knew that there was a bit of a core following, but we were thrilled that by the time we hit our straps going, we feel really comfortable with what we're offering. It's not, here's what we did 20 years ago. It felt like, here's what this bunch of blokes do together. And then to get out on stage and have a packed house going, for them it was, I've heard many people say, used to be into this music, and I brought somebody along to show them what I was into, and I think thankfully it was pretty rocking for us all. And we as a band, we said we'd do it again, and we intended to, but that's just been, I don't know whether you heard that, the COVID's just blown that one out of the water. I think our next date is January of next year now. With all the blowouts at the Corner Hotel and everything, the date getting put back. So I'll definitely do that one again. But as I say, that's a different beast. I mean, that's a beautiful band. But for me, for songwriting and for the buzz I need weekly, I thank my lucky stars. I have the truck thing going at the moment, so that's yeah.
It's great that you feel you need it weekly now, because you went so many years without needing it at all. Almost, you know what I mean? Like that's
yeah. Yeah. Well,
it's funny because we don't have rehearsal. We have band practice. Every Wednesday night is truck night. And it's like, it's not, I'll see you at rehearsal. It's like, hey, I'll see you at practice. And we do band practice. It's like being your first band. It's awesome.
It is. It's beautiful.
Is Horsehead going to do any more new material, Andy? Or
I never say never. I know there were some jokes recently, and as soon as someone opened their mouth and cracked a joke about it, someone else was sending an email around wanting. Is that a serious? But I'm just gonna. We'll just see what happens. I don't know. It's that's you know that they're all involved in other acts and other careers and other things. So if and when that happens, that would be exciting. But
I was saying to David before you came on though, like someone like George Lynch, you know, from Dokken, is in about 7 bands or 8 bands, 9 bands. Like, it's just like, well, if I've got to earn that money to pay my rent, I've got to just do the same thing and multiply it by 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, that's kind of the way.
Who earns money out of rock and roll? Have we missed something, Dave?
Oh, people are paying a fortune to watch this. And Dave, what about yourself, mate? You obviously, how does things look outside of truck and the Baby Animals, as far as perhaps new music and anything else you're up to? What else is happening in your life?
Well, Baby Animals is about to embark on the reformation of the Red Hot Summer Tour at home. But that's we're a heritage act at this point. We're kicking around some new ideas and things like that. But I've got a full-time, part-time job anyway, so it's interesting that I used to have to rely on music to be my full income, but now because of this and that, it's more for pleasure these days. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. But the Baby Animals is obviously they are having a commercial sort of renaissance resurgence, aren't they? I mean, you're playing to big crowds and people really love the band.
Well, we still keep doing what we do and keep getting away with it, so to speak. Yeah.
Because you're bloody good, buddy.
We were all right today. We had a rehearsal today. I'm up in Sydney, halfway through Baby Animals rehearsals, and it's good. I mean, it's good for me because I get the chance to experience 2 different dynamics and 2 different bands and everything like that, and they're both very different, and my function and my role in each is different as well. So that's good. Life's interesting. It's good.
Before we go, guys, maybe we can talk about the plans for truck now. Like, you've got an EP. So how many songs are we talking? And is there if you could sum up the band, right? Don't rely on other people. Don't wait around for other people to do it. Might as well define it yourself. What the vibe is and that sort of thing. As I said, it's not dark, like there's no anger like sort of Horsehead, is there? And it's not as kind. I guess it's a little less, even a little less aggressive than Baby Animals, maybe. How would you sum it up? And then we'll let you go.
Wow, Andy, you want to hit this one?
I was hoping you'd jump in. I definitely. I think we've both Dave and I have said blokes of our vintage grew up listening to 70s rock and roll, and I think it came in one of the press releases. I think I said, I saw a Peanuts cartoon where it said if you're feeling down, put on a 70s record, and I think 70s music is in us. I freaking love it. If it's got soul and rock and roll, you know, and I love the you know, I'm just thinking of the good rock and roll from the 70s, and I think that inspires me to get up and rock with these guys. But what do we want to do with truck? Oh, I was going to pick you up on that. We've got the people around us now saying, because we've got an EP, and the vibe is now get back into the studio, and because we've got songs coming out of our songwriting department. So we're gonna turn it into I think it's probably going to be an album at this stage. And there's another single coming out shortly, which you are coming back to band practice tomorrow night, aren't you, Dave?
Yes, I'll be back for tomorrow night. I'll be back for practice.
Isn't it good?
How we just find out.
Is there a limit on beers at band practice? Like, is it like one big that you got to drive home, or do you know? Is there a rule?
Who beers at band practice? No, it's not like the old days.
You don't have any? No.
We're quite sensible until we're not. How about that? No, band practice is good. We're gonna work out the next video. That's on the cards. Pick which tracks are going on the album to round out the album, and then I think, as Dave and I have been saying for some time, you think this first batch is good. Wait till you hear what we're working on now. I think we're about to write and work on the greatest rock and roll album ever. Well, at least by us, but we'll see what happens.
Well, before I go,
you heard it here first.